Hi everybody, welcome back. Got some good news. I got a new little manual, guide, whatever you want to call it, in the mail today. I ordered it off eBay because a friend had one, had recently gotten one, and I thought it was so neat that I found myself a copy. So it's a Gates fan belt and radiator hose guide. Covers passenger cars, trucks, and tractors, everything up until 1938. That's what model this manual is. But it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of information in here. So it covers, like I said, passenger cars, buses and trucks, tractors and combines, air compressors, valve rephasers, water pumps, etc. And it covers all the belts and all the hoses and anything rubber related that you might find on any of these machines. And like I said, it covers just about everything. So I'll flip through it here just kind of quickly to show you. Tells you about how their belts are made. And like you said, any kind of passenger car you can imagine before 38 is covered here. And buses and trucks, there again, every kind of brand you could ever think of. And then we get to tractors, combines, and road maintainers. That's the really interests me. So there's your Allis Chalmers section. So for example, like my model 612 that uses a belt number 5311. The upper radiator hose is 2 inches by 7 1/4, and it's actually the same size lower hose, 2 inches by 17 1/4. And then you can cross-reference this belt number 5311. If you go, it tells you all about all the different kinds of hoses. So there's what I think might have been the original hose on mine. I have an old chunk that came with the tractor. I'll show you that when we get out to the tractor here today. And it appears to me that it was red on the outside and black on the inside, like this one. So that's kind of neat. It shows you all different molded hoses and all the different, types of hoses you can imagine, floor mats, and then, like I said, air compressors and boring bars and pumps and you name it. V-belts, reference guide for all the V-belts. And then we get to, let's see here, more V-belts, oops, and the flat belts. So then it has the reference for your, what was it, 5311, right? So there's 5311. So that is, the inside circumference is 44. And the width is 1.25 inches. I haven't verified any of these yet, but I would assume it is correct. And that's a flat, endless belt. Come on, focus. From what I've heard, originally they came with endless belts, new. And then a lot of times they were replaced with like a belt that has a splice in it, as they were replaced over time. And then it gives you price guides for all the products that they list in here. It's a pretty cool manual. That's originally where it was from. So yeah, handy little thing to have. So out of curiosity, I thought I'd do a spot check. Cross-reference them. So the 2035 Allis short fender started in 27, like I have, and I've went through and rebuilt. It says it has a fan belt of 5379. So you go to 5379, 50 by 2. Go over to my Allis parts manual. This is the first one for the short fenders, the earliest parts manual for the short fenders. Tractors 70, 80 and up. and you look up the fan belt right here, 50 by 2, just like it says. Rubber fan belt. Unfortunately, the 612 manual doesn't say what size it actually is. It shows a picture of it, and there's no visual seam in the belt, so I would assume it's an endless belt. And then you go to the description of it. Where is it here? Fan belt. And it says it's leather, but it doesn't give you the size. So I can't cross-reference that, but kind of neat anyway. So that's the good news. I got some new reference materials to use. The bad news is I might not have quite as much tractor time here in the near future. Depending on how life plays out here, I might be up working on my roof. So if you haven't heard, North Dakota had a crazy windstorm come through earlier this week. For about 2 days, it was blowing just nuts. I mean, there's reported winds and gusts of 90 plus miles an hour. I've heard reports of over 100-mile-an-hour winds come through. And it was sustained. It was blowing hard for 2 days straight. And there is a lot of people around that have lost shingles and had damages, trees down, whatever. Me included. I have shingles blown off my roof. So I'm working with insurance and stuff to get that all figured out, what the plan is to get that fixed. And depending on, if I can find a contractor to do it or if I got to go up there and fix it myself, I might not have quite as much tractor time as I normally would. So just be aware of that. There might be a little less videos here in the near future. But we're kind of in a waiting game right now, hearing what the insurance wants to do. And even if I did know what to do, I don't have shingles yet. There's some coming. We have some here hopefully by this Wednesday. It's currently Saturday. And if I need to get more, finding more is proving to be difficult at the moment, because out here the supply of them, with the pandemic and just the time of the year and everything, the supplies are low at the moment. So that's interesting. Be interesting to see how this all plays out. But luckily, it's not rainy season. So if we do get a little bit of snow up there, it's not the end of the world. Tar paper and stuff is still intact, so I got some form of protection. But it's still less than ideal situation all around. Bad time of year to be patching roofs. But whatever. It is what it is. Nothing I can do about it at this point. So I feel kind of guilty not working on that, but there's not much I can really do at the moment. So probably go out and work on the 612 instead. You might as well get something done. No sense in sitting around worrying about something I can't control. So here's that original radiator hose that came with the tractor, so I can show you. I'm pretty confident it is actually the original hose too, because it's the right size, it's the right length. It has you can see where the original hose clamps were on there, that I have as well. I took the wire brush to it, and to me that sure looks like it was a red hose originally. Definitely isn't black until you get where you can see the under layer of it, and it's sure black on the come on, focus. Black on the inside there. So I don't know. Tell me guys what you think. I'm considering putting red hoses back on it. If nothing else, just for a conversation piece. Catch people's attention. Because you still can get red radiator hose from Restoration Supply Company. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Should I put red hoses back on there? So I'm back at these goofy linkages. I flip-flop things back around to how they originally were. And how after a little bit more talking with people, looking at pictures, I kind of think it should be this way. Back to where the clutch is on the right. So the two linkage rods have to cross in the tube, but I think that will be fine. What I did to alleviate some of the clearance issues is I put some spacer washers in where these clevises attached to the arms, and to keep, because there was so much side to side play, you know, if I keep this arm to the outside and I keep this arm to the outside, things pretty much clear. But if they were allowed to come together, that's when they were binding and hitting. So I think what I'll do is I'll make up a couple little spacer bushings. Come on, camera. It doesn't like to shoot down through this hole. There. Make up a couple little bushings for here and here. These are just washers, just to proof of concept type of thing. And make some smaller ones to be a little bit more hidden, concealed, and just go with that route, because it seems like they clear. So this is neutral. The clutch clears. If you put it in reverse, that's reverse. The clutch clears. If you put it in forward, this is where it's a little bit, this pin here and this bracket, just depending on how everything comes together, they sometimes just kiss each other. But I think I can probably live with that, because I considered putting a little bit of a spacer between these two, you know, spacing this arm out a little bit more. But then you run into issues with clearance on the end of this pin and on the inside of the casting here, because as it is now, neutral and reverse, as it is now, oh, I don't know if I can see down in there. It is, there isn't, I can't really get a good shot of it. There isn't a ton of clearance there. So I don't really want to move this arm out any more than it already is. Otherwise that might start binding in there too. But I think I can live with this combination. Neutral. And forward. Like I said, that's the only one where it's a little bit but I think that's, come on. I think that's what it's going to have to be, unless somebody can tell me otherwise, but it seems to be the best combination. And I know I've said that a couple of times now, but I think I mean it this time. So I think what I'm going to do now is try to figure out the two linkages that go down the tube and see if I can figure out if that's going to work crossing in the tube like that. One thing I need to know yet, and so far what I've heard is it sounds like these should both be straight. This one shouldn't have a kink in it, but I got to ask a few more people's opinion on that before I decide for sure. But that'll be the next thing to decide, if that needs to be straightened out or not. And I can't really final fit on figure all this all out until I get this control bracket casting back. And David's working on that, so I can only go so far at this point with that. I'll have to start working on something else instead. So let me see what I can figure out with these rods. I'll try test fitting them in the tube a little bit here. So I got the linkages put inside the tube then, hooked up on this end, and put in the orientation, and I believe they go on this end. This one has to be longer for your shifting, because you got to be able to put your lever forward to put it in reverse gear without hitting here, and then pull it back for forward gear. It's opposite of what you would think it would be. Forward is back and back is forward. And then your clutch linkage is sticking out enough, so they have to cross, of course, and it's still undecided whether or not this one really should be kinked or not. I don't think it would have to be. I'm going to leave it like it is for now until I know for sure, because if you put you got the two different holes in the control handles, right? So if you put the one on the bottom and the other on the top, which I'm assuming why that's like that, they would clear each other anyway. So you wouldn't need that jog in the linkage. One interesting thing is that these are not even bent the same. You line them up and the bends are a little bit different. Again, I'm not going to adjust any of that until I get the other control casting back, so I can fit everything and see which of these is actually bent or if they're that way on purpose. We'll probably end up doing the same thing like I did with the seat brackets, and probably end up having these welded up and re-drill them out to get things a lot tighter than what they currently are, so the levers aren't flopping around. I disassembled the throttle control lever here. I straightened that out. It was pretty bent up. I straightened that out. I took the little flipper control off. So that has a spring that's broken. So I'll have to fabricate one of them as well. Get some 60 thou piano wire and bend one up. So the way this goes together, this goes through here, and then this threads into the handle. You tighten it up to where you want it to, and then there's a lock nut on the back side to hold it in place. This bolt is rather corroded, so I'll have Dad make up a new one here, because again it's a heavy hex head, and then I can actually have them stop the threads where it's pivoting in there, so you have more of a better pivoting surface. And so I got to fabricate a spring. So what we were going to do was just take a generic hardware spring that Lawrence had in the shop here and make one up. Well, then we started looking at it, and we can't, because, well, at least with this particular one, because this is a right hand wound spring, where this is a left hand wound spring, and it has to be, otherwise it won't work. Actually, now that I was looking at this, it kind of dawned on me, I've been down this road, because this is the same little linkage that's on the 2035 control bracket, and I had to make a new spring for that. And I think I did the same thing. I made one out of a hardware spring, and then I went to put it together, and I realized, well, that's not right. It's backwards. It's wrong. One trick Lawrence taught me that I didn't know, so you can learn something every day, is how to tell if it's a right or a left hand wound spring. Pretty cool little trick he taught me. So if you take your spring and you hold it in your hand, the way the tail on the top here goes along with your finger tells you what it is. Like this, I have it in my right hand, and the tail is like my index finger there, right? So that's a right hand wound spring. If you have like this one in your left hand, it follows my left index finger, so that's a left hand wound spring. That's a nifty little trick that I never knew. So if you got a spring and you don't know which direction it is, you can hold it in your hand and, okay, which way does it go, left or right? So we'll get some of that ordered up and get that directions off to Dad on what size bolt to make for here, because it's a heavy hex head. I'm not sure what next. Like I said, I can't really finish all that quite yet until I get that casting back from David, and that'll probably be a little while here yet. So, because then that goes on here, and then those control arms pivot on there's two little ears on that bracket. So there's that rod that I just showed you over there, and then those bracket or levers go on that bracket there. That's your pivot point. So yeah, that's what I know for now.